Yeah, girl.
Good morning, 5-star. It's another edition of the 10,000 live stream. I'm here with Tracy Johnson and Doug Hale, both in blue today. Are we going to the beach?
Do we?
No,
We're looking
no,
the part.
it's just a shirt.
We're looking the part.
I missed the memo.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, good to see you today, but blue is always my favorite color. It's water, sky, right? So anyway, here we are. Last week, we gave you just an overview of the buyer process with the checklist, and we posted that on the 10,000 Club on the classroom. So if you missed that, those are really valuable checklists. But we just felt like there was so much there that we needed to dive in just a little deeper. 20-30 minutes won't be enough, but it'll be another level of helping you to understand that buyer process. So it's so important. It's so important to be a pro. It's so important to know that process, follow that process. And we're just going to help you to be better at that. Sound like a plan?
Sounds like
Yeah,
a
I
great
like
plan. Absolutely.
I like it. And we talked about the fact that, next week we're going to spend a little bit more time on the buyer checklist and the seller checklist, just going deeper, in a way that we can't do right now, just because there is so much stuff here. And each one of us have developed our own skill and maybe even our own checklist. But, I love the checklist that Kim has put together, because it's the checklist that says, I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right.
And that is the value of this.
Yeah. And watching last week too, as it transitions into this week, there was so much, right? I mean, there was so much last week that you guys touched on, but again, it's just, you just literally have to just follow the process and trust yourself in this. And so I agree, Kim, thank you for providing all of this for us, because again, this is our roadmap. For me, this is a great roadmap to say, hey, okay, I've done this, now this, now this. And it just really keeps you on task, doesn't it?
Exactly. And there are so many tasks that are happening at the same time. They have the same timeline. My worst fear was that I was going to miss the 10-day home inspection or whatever your purchase agreement gives, or whatever, if you've given 5 or 3 or whatever. Right. And then it was just ingrained in me that if I missed that, I just caused my buyer to buy a home as is. Mm-hmm. And it was always my worst fear. Now, today we have a little different market. We're waiving inspections or doing them just for pass or fail. But either way, those deadlines are so important. And we just want to help you to be better at understanding this process. So
great. Let's
start with, first of all, we're not going to go into the buyer consult today, but once you get that, your phone ring, hey, Tracy, hey, Doug, I'm excited to buy my first home or my second home or whatever it is. The next thing, the first thing we would do is sit down with them and have a buyer consult, right?
Yep.
And that's where we're going to.
And please sit down. Please sit down. Yeah. A lot of the times when people do the buyer consult on the phone and they're kind of doing things, again, back to your checklist, Kim. First, very important thing, make sure we're sitting there face to face, understanding timelines, understanding all the things that are important. And we want to be the pro, and they need to understand the way we work. So sorry to interrupt.
Nope, that's good. Tracy, any thoughts on the buyer consult?
I was just going to say the really nice thing about the buyer consult is we have something today that we didn't have when I started almost 10 years ago, and that was that buyer booklet. We have the listing booklet and we have the buyer booklet. And, and I know it's going to cost you a few dollars to buy it. You could also print the PDF, but it is a really beautiful way for you to walk a buyer through what the steps are, and in a way that you don't have to try to remember, because you're following along with what's in front of you and describing what's in front of you. You can sit and practice at home. So
use it.
Yeah, I've used the buyer book, seller book. I use those every time. I give them to every buyer, whether they've bought before or not. Yeah. I don't pay for the extended version that has my picture in it. I slap my business card in there and it's good to go. It's $5 and off we go. So if money's an issue, especially, that's a great book to use. So let's just say we've already walked through the buyer consult. We know their pre-approval. We know their search criteria, what kind of a home they're looking for, what their financing is it conventional, FHA, how much they're putting down. In that buyer consult, we find out how they're going to purchase this home, right?
Yep.
And then in today's market, we're going to talk about escalation clauses, appraisal gaps, et cetera. So that's just a quick conversation. That's its own live stream, right? Yes, its own live stream.
That's true.
That's true. So we've had the buyer consult. Then the next step is going to be, I personally am going to set them up a portal from my MLS, and I'm going to start sending them homes, right?
Yep.
Also, I'm going to backtrack because it's not about buyer consult, but don't forget, you have to get your real estate agency disclosure, and you want to get a buyer agency signed at that time as well, right?
Yes, you
Yep.
do. Yes, you do.
All right, so we
Yeah,
sent them.
Can I ask you a question about setting up the portal?
Yeah.
When you guys set up your portal, because all three of us belong to 3 different MLSs, so this is an interesting question. When I set up my searches for my clients, I always copy myself on what they're getting. And for mine, you literally have to check a box that says blind copy me or copy me on it. And it's important to check that box or to make sure when you're setting yours up for your MLS that your MLS copies you on it, because otherwise you don't see what your client is seeing.
Yeah.
And I like to sometimes when I see it come through, I like to get into it right away, do a little homework, and then be able to kind of push the ball along to them. So
Yep, I do that.
Ours does the same thing too. When they copy it and you see it on your phone,
yeah,
again, I'm one of those guys that literally will just jump right in. I'll look at what we've looked at. I mean, I'll even get to the point of saying, do they want to accept that, or do they want to say they want to trash that one?
yeah,
If there's interest there, that's where you can, I mean, if you're on top of it, like the minute they're looking at it, how often do we hear buyers say, well, you know, I have to find a lot of the listings. My agent isn't really like on top of things.
mhm.
Now you're on top of things, folks.
Yep.
You're now the pro. So I use it all the time.
Yep. The other thing that I do is I tell my buyers, I always set my portals up wide because, and you've heard me probably tell the story so many times, but they're very determined. They need one criteria, and often they buy another criteria. So I always make my criteria wide, and then I say, just take a look at it. And if you don't like it, it's easier to delete it than not see it.
You got it. Yep.
And then if it's consistent, we don't want that school system, then I'll remove that. But I always make it really wide, especially in today's market, there's not much to show them.
Yep.
And so it's really important to set that portal up. And like we just shared, it'll also tell you when they viewed it. So you know whether or not they're opening. I had a customer that I've been prospecting with since last fall, and they used to open things, now they're not. And I would reach out to them, they wouldn't respond. And I text them, they wouldn't respond. So I was losing them, but now all of a sudden they're opening up the emails again, because I thought maybe they bought with somebody else.
Right.
But now they're opening them up. So it gives you a lot of clues about what's happening behind the scenes too, right?
Absolutely.
And I know, Kim, you said that last week, you know, you go wide on this whole thing. So I went back to a lot of my little buyers portals. I widened it a little bit. And now all of a sudden I've got people that are responding that same scenario. I thought that, man, maybe they're losing interest. There's something going on. And again, because you gave them a wider scope, you literally took your net, cast it out there a little deeper. And again, all of a sudden, great things are happening as a result of that. So I'm taking a page right out of your book. This is great.
All right. Well, that's a compliment from the mayor. Just saying.
Yeah, it works. It works. It works, gang. So do what she's telling you to do. So.
All right. So we've set up their portal. We're not going to get a dot loop. But you put their buyer agency, you put their real estate agency disclosure, their pre-approval into a loop with their name. So you've got your loop all set up. Now you've written an offer and you've got it. You've already created the loop. You went through that whole process and now it's accepted. So now what do we do? So I missed a step. We didn't go through showing homes. Do we want to hit showing homes? Or we want to move on to the pending process?
I mean, I think we can touch on showing homes, just the etiquette of showing a house and why it's important to, you know, what do you do before you show the house? Well, you find the house, right? You've determined they want to see the house. You've gone and you've pulled the disclosures. You've learned something more about the house than your buyer knows at this point. And I do that when I look at it and see it come through my phone. If they say, oh, I love it. The first thing I do is find out, let's see what the age of the roof and the furnace is. What were the updates in the house? Was there any water in the basement? Is there anything checked as a no on that seller's disclosure? I'm glancing through to, you know, there's a lot of things that can be gleaned from your buyer from just that part right there.
Yep,
Mhm.
yep. And I also pick up the phone, call the listing agent, just to
Mhm.
say, hey, is there anything I'm missing that's not on the disclosure that will help me before
Okay.
we go to the house? So
Yeah,
again,
good. That,
And-
that falls in with what I always say, that the relationship with the listing agent begins when you make the appointment to show the house.
yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes, absolutely. And if you aren't one who calls listing agent, look at the photos. Is it well and septic? Is it public? Like Tracy said, I always go to the mechanicals, the roof. If they don't mention them as being updated, they're probably not updated, right?
Mhm.
Pull the disclosure, see if there's water in the basement. Take a look and know that home before you walk into that home.
Yeah.
Know as much as you can. And I'm the first to say, I've shown homes I haven't even looked at the listing before.
Mhm.
And I feel so lost. Like you're just in that mode and you have to run from here to here and you get there and you're like, oh, where's the bedroom, right?
Right, exactly.
Well,
Exactly.
Well, and know that because of technology, your buyer's pretty savvy, right? So
Yes.
nothing's more embarrassing than walking through the house with your buyer and the buyer says, no. Now, Doug, this sold a couple years ago for this.
Oh,
And you're like, ah, yes,
yes,
it did.
done there.
So again, you gotta know it. You gotta know it.
Gotta know it. And they always say, yeah, this sold 2 years ago. Why are they leaving so soon? And they only paid $214 for it. And why do they want $299 now? I mean, they know everything, right?
Mhm.
Because they're
Yeah.
savvy.
Yeah.
The other thing we want to touch on is be courteous. Remove your shoes. Make sure you lock the door behind you. Turn off the lights. I want to say treat it like your own home, but not everybody treats their home
Mhm.
the same as what somebody else might in the public. So,
Mhm.
but we do want to take some care and ownership of that person's home and make sure that we're not letting kids run all over the furniture and jumping on the beds. We've had all these stories, right?
Yep.
So keep an eye on your buyer.
Yeah, and make sure the house is secure when you leave.
Yeah.
You know, I had a listing a couple of weeks ago and my sellers came home on Sunday night and the front door was unlocked.
Ugh,
So, I mean, that's just really disappointing. It makes us look bad.
Sure
So
does.
when you open that lockbox, you literally have control of that home. And we have no idea what happened before you, but we know when you leave, you should make sure that if you found the door unlocked, feel free to give the listing agent a call and say, hey, just want to let you know when I showed up today, the door was unlocked, because if there was something that happened before you got there, you've let them know that.
And can I say
Absolutely.
something? Can I say something about these back-to-back showings that are happening through showing time?
Mhm.
Because there are a lot of people that are coming to that door that day. Make sure that when you do leave, to your point, there's an element of security in your mind. Put the key back in the lock, even though someone's waiting, put that key back in the lockbox, lock the door, lock the key box, make them go through the same process that you're going through.
Mhm.
I've had a lot of agents just make the mistake of just giving the next person that key,
Mhm.
leaving the door wide open. Man alive, does that set you up for some things that you probably don't even want to go down that road? So
Yeah, and how do you know that that person is really the agent? Did you ask for their card? Did you
don't
check their
know.
agent ID? You have no idea.
you know, so just make sure there's that ritual, make sure there's that process, make sure you, again, as Tracy just said, security is an important piece. Treat it that way. So
absolutely.
Okay.
So the next step is we've written our offer. We have a whole segment on writing strong offers, so we're not going to go there today. We've sent you all out a PDF to try to help you. So we've written the offer and we have a hurrah, we won,
yeah, baby.
right? So
Yeah, baby.
we won. We've got an accepted offer. Now what do I do? What are you going to do next, Tracy?
Well, I mean, obviously the one thing we need to get inspections scheduled, because there are things tied into a timeline within the purchase agreement that we're now in control over, keeping the ball in play. So that's one of the first things you're going to need to do is you're going to need to get your inspections scheduled.
Okay.
So-
What else, Doug?
Well, we talked about that inspection. Again, the title work has to begin, right?
Yep.
And again, all of the process, all of the stuff that kind of happens behind the scenes that most people just kind of take for granted, you're still facilitating all of that, right?
Right,
So
right.
title work,
I want to hear the next line, but I want to ask you this, what is the easiest way to get title started within 5-star?
within
Oh.
5, go ahead, Trace.
Oh, I love this. So the easiest way to do it is when you fill out your closing file checklist, one of the questions is, are you using Star Title? If you're using Star Title, boom, check that box and it's like magic. You know,
Yes.
things start happening. I was just talking with one of our new guys over in Cadillac, Justin Lewis, and he was saying to me, oh, Tracy, thank you so much for getting me hooked up with Star Title. Krista and Stephanie are amazing. And he talked about the ways that they help him. And he's like, I'm so glad to have them. And so that's the thing, is that your title company, and specifically for us, we've got this connection with Star Title here at 5 Star Real Estate, that we're trying to set, we're thinking about the easy button, right? And when you put that in your closing file checklist, that is your easy button.
Yes. Uh-oh, Doug's getting out of
No, and
file.
everybody knows that, right? Everybody, and again,
Yes.
when you're talking to your closer, and it's interesting to me that not only am I, when I submit for review, I send it in, obviously do all the necessary things, but literally have that opening conversation with whoever that is at Star Title, or whatever title company you're using. I'm just spoiled because Star Title just takes such good care of me every time. But it's nice that to have that opening conversation, to be able to say, here's what they're looking for. If there's a payoff authorization, if you're dealing with a seller, I know that's on the other end, but there's an awful lot of things that have to take place, and they just take it and run with it, guys. That's the nice thing. So I kind of tell people, don't overthink the process. Stay real close to your folks in title right away.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Yeah, and title is important too, because there is a timeline within your purchase agreement that if a defect is found, everyone has to abide by the purchase agreement. So we have to notify of the defect within this many days. The buyer has this many days to say yay or nay, we'll accept it. It has to be corrected. So follow your checklist.
And read title work.
Yes.
Read it. We have classes on it, videos on it. We have you have access to your Star Title person in your office. Anyone at Star Title, sit down with them and ask how to understand title work. It is so important. Title work has to be clear in order for you to close. And if there's a cloud on that title, or there's a death certificate or a trust certificate, if there's anything missing, it's going to delay your closing. So you want to really be on top. I know it can be overwhelming, and look at it going, oh my gosh, what is all this paperwork? A lot of it's just past history, right? It's the deed, it's the past sales, but you want to see, I think it's Schedule B, right? That has all the exceptions and what you need to do. So take a look at that, because Star Title will outline that for you.
Right.
Oh, sure will.
All right, so we have a pending. We've checked the box, so Star Title can start working their magic.
No.
We have worked on scheduling inspections. Tracy, what do you recommend when it comes to finding out who to use for an inspector?
Yeah, so the first thing I always do is I literally ask my clients, hey, do you have anyone that you know? Does a family member recently bought a house, had a good experience with an inspector? If they do, great, absolutely. If they don't, I have a number of inspectors that I could recommend for them to use. There are certain ones that I like, but I certainly ask them for their recommendations first.
Yes.
Sometimes we'll make that call together. Sometimes they'll schedule it online themselves. Sometimes they'll ask me to schedule it, but I always want to be a resource to them. Oh, look who's showing up
Oh, we have a
today.
guest.
Just wanted to hang out. I wanted to hang out with you guys. Don't let me interrupt.
Surprise
Hey,
guest. Oh, no,
I like
no
this. I
problem.
like
No
this.
interruption.
No interruption.
Jump in here and say hi.
That's it.
All right.
Hey, the
And you are
interesting-
Marissa today. That's weird.
Yeah, I must have clicked Melissa's link. Oops.
That's all right.
Hey, the interesting thing about that inspection though, Tracy, when you were talking about certain inspectors that you know do a great job and things like that, the interesting thing about people are always going to ask you, hey, Paul, who do you recommend? Who do you recommend doing the inspections, right? So get ready for that question, because that's going to come your way, especially if it's a first-time home buyer, never bought a house before. Man,
Yeah,
they're leaning on their agent, Paul Carlson. So, Paul, is that kind of what you say to a buyer?
exactly. That's kind of like my best practice. So I typically will give them an option of a couple names that I trust.
Mhm.
Now, I go ahead and schedule it for them as a courtesy. I'm trying to take as many things off of my client's plate as possible. They brought me in for a reason. They didn't bring me in so I can go, yeah, so here's a list of things to do. Like, good luck scheduling all that. Let me know when you get it scheduled. No, I'm going to do it for them. So I'll typically run through the inspector options I have. And almost every time they go, okay, I don't know these people from Adam. So what should I do? And I go, well, why don't we check their availability? What's your availability? And then we'll typically choose based upon availability. Because, right now you got lenders who are slammed. I'm sorry, not lenders, inspectors who are slammed. And they might be booked up for a week and a half. And so I have one company that I use right now that has a lot of inspectors on their team. So they're able to meet my needs pretty much whenever I need it. So.
Me too. And I will actually call, like Paul, as a service. I will do everything I can to get that moved along. And I'll ask them, does this work for you Tuesday at 9? Excuse me, you come at 11. I'll be there at 11 to meet you. We have the review. And they say yes. And then my person just sends over the final. They put in their credit card, confirm, and all those things. So absolutely, I think it's an opportunity to show service to them. Yep. Yep.
You
So
get it done as soon as you can. Yep.
all right. So Paul, I saw a little note on here about the checklist.
Oh, yeah. My
Yep.
question, I know it was a vague question. It wasn't very specific, but I guess what I was asking is we have these buyer checklists and we have like closing file checklists, but do you have additional checklists, like enter them into my database, remember to follow up with them? Because I know we're talking transactionally. So I was just kind of curious, do you guys customize your own checklists?
Absolutely. And last week when we did this, and I'll say it again, if an agent wants my checklist, I have 3 different versions. I have a long version, a generic version, a pending version. I ask that you just email me because I can't track when they're on a text or on Facebook. It's just email me, which some did last week. And I can share it with you, my version, which is pretty much has everything on there. And then you can take it and make a copy and then it's yours. And you can say, I don't want that, but I want to add this. And it seems like it's just 3 or 4 pieces of paper, but it's really many years of doing transactions. So I definitely recommend you customize it to work for you. Absolutely. Yeah. And then you can add the things that Paul, go ahead, Tracy.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and then once you've done enough transactions, you begin to build the framework of what business looks like for you, the way you want to do business. But what the Kim's closing file checklist here, the after closing is there, and that is included in here. What do you do? How do you stay in touch with people? Did you follow up with the closing and even bring a gift to you? It's all baked into this.
Yep.
Excellent work. Because honestly, not to run to the end, not to go to the finish line right now, but the real trick here for you is, you've got this opportunity, you've got this checklist, you're on your way to a closing, you're doing a great job. And then what, right? You get to the closing and it's like, okay, if the checklist ends, you need to shift your mindset and go, this is the beginning of the relationship now. And so that portion of that checklist, which is what happens now that I've already closed your transaction.
Yep.
And now we've officially worked together, but we're no longer professionally working together. How do you maintain that relationship? And that checklist that goes beyond the closing is equally important as
Absolutely.
the
And that sounds like that would be a really good live stream.
There you go.
Because there's a lot to that. And I'm sure agents want to know that. That's a question we get all the time, is how do I stay in touch? And we know Ninja addresses that, but that would be a really good segment all on its own, right?
Yep.
So, all right, so we've scheduled our Oh, Doug, would you say something?
No, I was just going to say, I always call it the adoption process. Now that you've earned their confidence or trust, you've gotten to the finish line. Yay, we've closed on the house. And I'll say things like, well, this isn't the last. This isn't our parting ways, guys. This is the beginning of something great, right? And so again, I'll just be able to kind of keep that flame burning and to be able to ask for business in the future. But I'll kind of set the stage for that too.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, and it always feels kind of sad. Closing day's happy for them, but we kind of like we're together, and all of a sudden we're not together.
we're not together.
And that's a really important part, right? Is staying in touch with them. I always wait to take their closing gift because that gives me one more touch afterwards to say, hey, can I stop by? Or even if you're not home, I'll put it on their doorstep, take a picture. I try to, see, depends on the relationship, but you know, that's a really important topic as well, is how we're going to stay in touch with them. So, all right. So the next thing is in the next 6 minutes is we've done inspections. We never have enough time for this topic, do we? Ever. So, and as usual, you can always call up any of us and have a conversation about all of these things. So we're always glad to help. So at the same time, so now we've missed a couple things. So let's backtrack. We are pending. And we set inspections. We've filled out the closing file checklist and check star title. Remember, you have to submit it for review. Otherwise, your BA doesn't know your deal happened.
Yep.
There's 2 other things right at the beginning we need to do. Collect, right?
The earnest money deposit.
Collect the earnest money.
Yep.
Yep. And however many days you said you need to formally get loan application going. The way I get that started is I contact the lender and share those contracts, and then they'll just take it from there and get things moving, right?
Yep.
Okay.
And and a lot of lenders literally will start the entire loan process, and then they're just waiting for you to call to say, hey, just checking in, you know, did we get through inspections? Are we satisfied? What's our timeline look like? And then boom. So when you share that document with them, you immediately begin that relationship. Now, this is a new relationship entering in, right, with the loan officer. And so it keeps everything in play.
Yep. And on that same topic, once you are at that point now and you've got your lender involved and you have your inspections, give the lender an update following the inspections. Do not forget to update the lender, because if you don't update the lender and they've delayed the appraisal because they've not heard from you, you're now possibly dealing with not hitting your closing timeline.
Right. And the other thing I want to say about this too is I met a lender very early into my relationship who ended up being one of the lenders I used for 8 years. She just retired. She had no idea that when I met her, I was doing my 3rd transaction. Mm-hmm. She liked me so much because she saw I worked on weekends. I was available at 10 o'clock p.m. I was, so she literally started referring me her business. She was 8 years from retirement. She knew a lot of realtors. So be a pro, be a great communicator. I send out a welcome to the transaction sheet with every transaction. It shows all the pieces and parts, every person, phone number, email addresses. And when lenders get these things, they're like, wow, this is amazing. They no longer have to guess who's the other title company, who's the other agent, it's amazing. So be a good communicator.
That's perfect.
Absolutely. So 1027, I'm trying to think what else. So we've got things rolling. Now we're going to just follow those processes through, right? Timelines are moving, processes are moving. Anything else that anyone could think of that you would be doing at the same time? I always like to mention when you do inspections, remember there are some inspections that aren't general, they're extra, like a pool, of course, or spa, sprinklers, chimneys, well and septic,
We may
right?
have already gone over this, but I at this point in time, I would be like, let's verify you've got your homeowner's insurance quote going. Let's run through. You guys already talked about this, but I would make sure all those things are moving. Here's your utilities. You're going to be in this township, so here's your electric provider. Here's your gas provider. Here's the water phone number. You'll want to call these ahead.
After inspections, sometime between the time the purchase agreement gets signed and through inspections, that title insurance is going to be showing up in someone's email. And when you're with Star Title, guess what they do? They load it right into your loop for you. You're going to get a notification that it's there. Now it's there. What do you do with it? Are you obligated to do anything with it?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's interesting that you'll hear people say, once we get through the inspections and the appraisal, all of a sudden it feels like it's kind of a hurry up and wait process, right? Like there's this downtime between then and the closing date that we've set. And Paul, to your point, those are the times to be able to talk about the homeowner's insurance and the utilities and all of that, because for heaven's sakes, if you're buying your first house, you don't know.
You have no clue. You never done it before. First time.
No, and that's where being a great resource and communicator is huge. That's huge.
And your clients will. I mean, remember, we're auditioning for the future here too, right? This is an audition for the rest of our relationship. I mean, just because they work with you once does not mean they'll work with you again. All of us have stories about how maybe we didn't do the greatest job with this person, we just didn't feel like we connected and we lost, and that person's since gone to work with other realtors later in life. And that every one of us is going to have that happen. You will have that happen to you too. For those of you watching, it's going to happen. Learn from it, get better at it, acknowledge when you can do better, acknowledge when you've not done a great job. And remember just that this is what you're doing is you're creating an experience for them.
Right.
So never forget that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I always say, I want to do a good job for you, but I also want to do a good job for you so that I get to meet your friends. Because if I don't do a great job for you, I don't have the opportunity to meet your friends. So it's not just about this. This is a relationship that goes into the future.
That's great. That's
Yep.
great. Yep, absolutely.
Well, the last thing I want to say is that I hope you guys all saw our little challenge we sent out yesterday. Did you guys see that?
I did.
All right. I mean, we got some serious hard cold cash on the table here, guys.
Yeah, those are some nice gifts being offered.
So, so we wanted to, I was sitting with Greg yesterday and I was like, you know what, man? And honestly, this is what happened. So I sent this thing out, an agent reached out and said, what's the criteria? And I was like, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. It's going to be totally subjective. I don't have a very good criteria other than like, I'm just going to pick 3 that I think are really good. I'm going to pick 3 very different versions of this 30-day challenge. But what I was going to say is, I'm blanking now. An agent yesterday called me and she goes, Paul, I was writing this out and I'm going, she got done writing and she goes, why am I not doing these things? Okay. She's like, I should be doing these things right now. And I'm like, yes, that's part of the exercise. So part of the exercise is if you submit your thing, you're going to get $50 off your bill, just like that. And you have a chance to win $2,000. But the most valuable thing here is running yourself through the exercise of what should my day look like? What should my weeks look like? If I was serious about getting a buyer and seller under contract, what would I do? How far would I go?
Right.
Who would I speak to? And it's a good mental exercise, right? To run yourself through it. And I already had an agent going, I've already this is already worth it because I'm like, gosh, I can't believe I was missing these things in my day. So I encourage all of you to play along, do it just for yourself, just to challenge yourself to see what you would do. So
Beautiful. I like it.
so that's my pitch.
Good.
Right.
like it.
Well, Paul, since you're our guest, how about we let you sign off? How's that?
Guys, thank you for joining us for an episode of the 10,000 with the Dream Team. Thank you, broker support team, for diligently doing this for the agents. I know that it's so valuable and helpful, and thank you. So, all right, guys.
Great.
All right.
Make it a great
see you
day.
later.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
everybody. Thanks. Very